You also have the other ones looking after their own in the same way. They want to make sure they don't lose anybody, you know, because everybody's a head count, everybody's food for their matrix. So they're taking care of their own too. And it's kind of like there's a relaxing about that we don't have to get too. We don't need to get scared, is what it comes down to. Big stuff's happening, but we don't have to be frightened about it. If we can look at the celebration that's happening and realize, too, that whoever decides to go whichever side, this is the end of a very old argument. And both sides have wanted it to end for a long time. We're not going to see the end where everybody blows up and you're left with 5 of you standing and saying, oh, dear, it's only us? Which side are we on? Right? Yeah, can you imagine that? I mean, yeah, that'd be like a really, really sick cartoon. You see, after the Hitharo, you see like little group of people standing there. We made it. And the other going, are you sure? How do we know that the others aren't the ones that went up and we went down? Are we in a black hole? It would be very weird. It's not going to be that dramatic. All right, it's not going to be wake up one day and there's like 10 people left on the planet because you went up and not very many people did. It's not going to go that dramatic. It's not going to be that severe. Well, it might be in 2012. It might be a little weird in 2012 because in 2012 you get final shield separation where we disappear out of each other's holograms. But until 2012, at least, we get to ride together through this process. I don't know what that's going to look like either, but I'd like to get back on track here. I'll take one more question, but okay. A lot of the things that were supposed to happen in 2012 are happening earlier. But 2012, December 21st, 2012, it's a grid coding, just like 1111 is a grid coding, a vibrational point in the grids. That's still going to be the finalization. That's when the shields are going to finally split. And that may be interesting. Like if I were going to predict an earthquake, I'd definitely put my money on 2012, like a big one. I may be wrong, but that's just a guess. But anyway, what was going to take place, some of the things that were going to take place in 2012, like the opening of the gates and halls of Mente and all that stuff's happening early, including the 3-day particle conversion period. The 3-day particle conversion period will now take place in August during the Hithalon. It will. This August. They can't even hold it off to 2006 like they were trying. So what this might look like is another one of those questions that I have hanging in the air on little strings for to pick up and answer one of these days. What is this going to look like? I know they mentioned hydrogen burning and things like that when this stuff happens. But we also have the frequency fields that are being generated now by the Ark of the Covenant. We went beyond just Tryon Miage field protection. We went into full flame body activation, which you have to do to actually get through Hitharo. So it ought to be interesting. They're going to give us more. Right now they're preparing us for Hitharo, which is the first part. They're preparing us for what's going to happen in May. In May, they will prepare us for what's going to happen in August and let us know. There's something big that goes with Hithalon. I know that. And I can't touch it. I tried to pull it off the records. I've tried to access it. Total security lock on it. So this is the first. We need to understand this first to understand what we need to do with ourselves. You know, before we have to worry about August. Let's get through May. Anyway, this is the splitting of the seed atom. This little diagram up here shows the crisp spark coming down through the Akasha Aya, the Akasha, the Akasha A, the Akasha, the Eka, and into the Veka, and then splitting into 3. So that's just showing you what happens before it gets here, and that splits into 3 there, but it actually runs through the Veka for center points, and it runs through the horizontal axis of the parallel as well. I wonder if there's any sound to that. When I was doing the diagram, I was wondering if there would be a rumble. I got a feeling that there should be, even if it's not an outside rumble, but one of those, like, what do they call them? Almost like the equivalent of a deep quake. But some people that are sensitive, that have sensitive inner audio, hear these like booms and rumbles and things that are coming from the earth core. I wouldn't doubt if there's quite a series of them during this. Now, after this happens, and this begins, I believe they said this was happening around dawn of May 27th. We're going to be out on the island in the evening, right? Right? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to be out on the island in the evening because this is just the beginning. This isn't the big to-do. That's just the beginning of the big to-do. Now, This I found fascinating. I kept trying to picture myself inside of one of those. What used to be your Merkaba field changes form temporarily. All right, now over here, first of all, it's called the Triveca fold. The stargates, the Cathara centers, the signets, start to fold in together. They start to blend with each other and pull the Cathara template actually in to itself. Where in the Triveca fold, now the Triveca, remember that's the Triveca symbol, the three-way? That's the first stage of folding. In the Triveca fold, you get gates 9, I'll do it over here, gates 9 and 10 that are usually over here, they move in together. You get 3 and 4, move in together. And it forms a different shape. And I'm going to read it first so I can explain what else is happening, because at this point, the electrical Merkaba collapses. All right. Now, it says, okay, wait a minute. Okay. I'll read over here. Yeah, this is hard to read on the bottom. I'm going to shift it over to read here, then I'll go back to pointing. Okay, the Eros field and void window, remember they opened up in the center? Okay, they continue to expand within the Miage field, that's that inner sound field level. As the Particum and Particae universe electrical Merkaba spirals reach their peak spin, which just happened on the other page, reach that really pop peak spin. Okay, at peak spin, the electrical Merkaba seals in parallel Stargate 14 and Stargate 14, or Signet 14, release. So this is where the full release on the electrical seals. They started to release with the gold wave infusion. This is where they fully release and completely let go. They're the Merkabic seals. And the blue and violet Trinity beams, remember the blue and the violet were coming down on the sides and the gold was coming down in the middle? They begin to draw toward the gold flame center beam. So what you have, I'll take it that far and see if we can go that far. All right. When the peak spin is reached, this Eros center is expanding out. D12 frequency is coming out in the center of the Merkaba now, where the seed atom used to be and is no more because it's split. The beams, the Trinity beams that used to come through gate 9 and gate 10 and gate 11, they start to draw toward each other and draw together. They start to flip up this way and draw into the center beam. While they're doing that, because they're beams that actually go down through these gates, they go this way. This one, the 9, goes that way. The 10 goes that way. They're pulling the bottom gates with them. They bring 11, 9, and 10 together into a Triveca fold, and 2, 3, and 4 together into a Triveca fold. While this is happening, this seal up here that holds the cone of the Merkaba fully lets go. And it causes the Merkaba field to collapse. There's a way to do this too. It causes the Merkaba field, if you take that, if there was like, say you're pinching the top of that, right, and you let it go, the Merkaba that's running this way, this side, will go, right? This side will go, and come in, and it folds up around the Triveca folded stargates, which I found absolutely fascinating. It creates, now remember, once upon a time we had a Miage, a Trion field in there. Remember what happened to the big circle body? That was my next question. After I saw that, okay, I can get how the gates fold up, but wait a minute. If that was a paper cup, there was a sphere inside of that paper cup, there was a ball in there. Where'd the ball go? Because we're inside that ball, right? Our manifest form. So I was really curious, okay, if my Merkaba field is going to turn into a hot dog, where does my little ball go? Where did I go? Right? If you think of them in terms of energy, if you have this cone of energy that had a ball sitting in the middle of it, right? And you do this with the cone of energy, it squashes the ball, right? Now, the ball doesn't pop or break or drop out the bottom. It squashes. This is the ball. It's your Trion field that stretches out like a hot dog shape within the fields of that used to be the Merkaba walls, the spiral walls, blend in with it. And it creates what's called a trion envelope. It's like a light envelope, an envelope of light. Remember, you're still in here somewhere, right? The universe is doing this. This isn't just your body. This is the whole universe. I look at this stuff going, oh my God. Right? What's it going to look like? Yeah. Now, these are heavy-duty Merkaba mechanics, just so you know. They're not only showing us, yeah, you've got one of these, right? And then then it does this. They show exactly how it's doing what and why it's doing what it's doing. So first, this one creates the trion envelope. The electrical Merkaba in the Particum universe collapses. What's interesting, though, is the bottom one, the magnetic one, does not collapse. That stays stable during the Heath-Arrow period. Now, this will undergo transformation during the Heath-Alon period. But right now, it's holding the rest of it's holding your hot dog up. You know, it's like a big hot dog, and you know, it's an amazing shape. I can't imagine what that might feel like, because there's a whole translation of things we didn't have time to decipher, and it's very confusing because you have to get into virtual fields versus peripheral fields, and what's spinning which way, be it Particum or Particae universe, which spinning which way, whether it generates electrical or magnetic fields, and what happens to the electrical and magnetic fields and the electrons, protons, and neutrons that they're connected to and manifest through when all of this happens. There's a whole physics translation, and it affects like pressure inside the body, outside the body, heat versus non-heat, all of those things. So there's a whole level of translation that's very, very sophisticated and very difficult. We just didn't have time. I don't know if they're going to give me more of that. They probably will at some point, but I have a feeling they're going to give it more toward the Heath-Alon, because I think more happens noticeably on the atomic level in the Heath-Alon than it will in the Heath-Arrow. So for the Heath-Arrow, we just get to know that, okay, once we're in stage B, our Merkaba fields collapse, our electrical Merkaba field collapses, and it turns into a trion field envelope of frequency. And the trion field, trions technically are D11 electrons. Okay, so you're dealing with a D11 electron field. It's a positive template field, and it manifests as negative charge electrons. So they're D11 electrons. So we now have this D11 electron field hot dog around us, and we have our Miage field, radio body still inside of it, and we have the Eros field, flame body beginning to activate inside of that, and our little matter form is in there someplace, and inside of our matter form is the point where the crystal seed atom is. This is happening on a universal level as well, which I find fascinating. And I think probably tomorrow I'm going to see if I can find that passage in Revelations in the Bible where it talks about the sky folding up like a parchment. I think it's chapter 8, verse I don't know what. But I think it's in chapter 8. It's either chapter 6 or chapter 8 Revelations. And we'll talk about it because they're talking specifically about this. And I know that. And it's interesting because right around in that section somewhere, too, they talk about the golden censer. And so it's like this material was alive and well in Atlantis. They knew we were heading, they knew this stuff could happen. They knew we were heading for supposedly a smaller version of this in 2012. Even in Atlantis, they knew it. And little bits of it still remain, even in the Bible text, mostly in Revelation. What's interesting is while that's happening with our gates, right? So our gates are doing the Tribeca fold, squishing up together. Our electrical Merkaba collapses, and its frequencies blend in with the trion field, forming like it almost forms like the Merkaba forms a D14 frequency field around the trion field of D11 electrons. So it's starting to be a layered light field, or a layered light envelope. This is the beginning of the golden fleece frequency field, all right? Because once this Merkaba completely collapses and its frequencies start to merge with the frequencies of the D11 trion field, you get, you also have this opening, D12, and you have D12 coming in here. So you have D12, you have D14, and you have D11 frequency mixing together. There's another point where you get D8 mixing in with the rest of it, and it gives you what's called the golden silver one frequency, okay? And that is the golden fleece frequency. It appears as gold light once it has more of the D8 frequency from gate 8 activating in it. But this trion field envelope is becoming a golden silver one envelope which the gold and silver one we introduced that, I think, in Dance for, what was that, Freedom or Love? I forget which one. I think it was Freedom. But the gold and silver one frequency is a very powerful frequency. It's a frequency of demanifestation. And it's just a particular combination of frequencies that allow for the demanifestation of form. So that they didn't say we're demanifesting yet as far as what they're explaining. They didn't say we're demanifesting yet. But we're getting this immense field where we used to have this Merkaba. Now we have this intense envelope around us instead of a spiral on top. We have this envelope. The same thing is occurring in the parallel, which means your parallel body and the parallel universe is also undergoing the same transition, but their plane is on, they're running horizontal compared to ours. But they're doing the Tribeca folds where their gate 10, gate 9, and 11 come together, and their gate 4 and 3 and 2 come together. And they also form a trion field envelope. Now, those things are actually together occurring in the same place, so you get this. Is the beginning of understanding the rod and the staff. This is the staff that runs the Particum universe, and the rod runs the Particum universe. It refers to the gate sequencings, connections. And when we're talking about activating the rod and the staff in the body, it's the same configuration in your own body. When we activate the rod and the staff in the body, we put ourselves into full flame body activation through Hitharo. We can do that now. Indigos can do it now, ahead of time if they want to, because it's already going down in the Eka grids. And because we're keyed to those future grids, we have the ability to activate these things. We can do this now, so by the time we get to the Hitharo here, we're ready, no problem. And we will also be generating the host matrix frequency field that will give a buffer field to everybody else that's not fortunate enough to have an indigo code. They have to wait until the grids here activate. So we get to the point where we have a biveka fold. That's stage B. It's activation of the golden fleece pre-light trion envelope. So from now on, I'll call this the golden fleece field. Okay, that's the envelope. And this is where your golden fleece frequency field starts to build. Let's see. Okay. I'll just read this to make sure I cover all the bases. Okay. Where are we? Okay, here's where we got to the point where the blue and the violet beams were drawing together toward the gold beam in the center, and that was bringing the Tribeca fold into the gates. Right? As the axis of both the blue and violet beams shift toward the center, this is where the Merkaba does its thing. The electrical Merkaba spirals simultaneously draw into a vertical alignment. So that's what I was talking about. The Merkaba spiral goes vertical when this top seal is released. It's not spiral anymore. Okay, so it goes into vertical alignment until the electrical Merkaba spiral collapses. As the electrical Merkaba spiral collapses, the PCM, Particum, and pKa parallel universe radial body trion fields within them condense and elongate, merging with the gold central beam to form a trion pre-light envelope around the pre-sound Miage field within them, and Eros field within them. Now, all right, that's a little bit more detailed than what I had explained, so I'll go back over that right there. As the electrical Merkaba spirals collapse, the PCM particle and pK antiparticle universe radial body trion fields. Remember the things that used to be circles, trion fields. Condense, pull together, elongate, and they merge with the central beam. Okay, a frequency that's coming down. Now that was the Christos beam that came out of the Christos spark. It's the gold part of it. It's the one that's carrying the frequencies of D14 and the pale yellow light fields of D14 and the Manet frequency run all the way down from the Manet level of the Akasha Aya. All right, so this is what this trion envelope is made out of. It has D14. It's made of pure Manet frequency coming down from the higher levels, and the Merkaba blends into that, and the trion fields open up to that. Okay, let's see. 1, 12, and 13 within the magnetic Merkaba spirals of both PCM and pKa universes. So you have the magnetic spirals here. And you have this envelope forming here. You have the magnetic one from the antiparticle universe here, and you have the envelope running through that one as well. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, the magnetic Merkaba spirals do not collapse during Heath Arrow, but do so later during the Heath-Alon peak. The trion prelate envelope is often called the golden-silver one invisibility shield of the golden fleece. All right, so this is what the golden fleece is. It's made of golden-silver one frequency, and it forms an envelope where you used to have an envelope around your being, around the universe. The universe is getting one of these, and everything in it, the planet, the galaxy, the sun. But so are we, and that's only stage B. And remember, this is all happening on one day. I don't know if we're at noon yet or what. They haven't given me the time one on this one. The times come in on the later ones because they're very specific times. Now we go to stage C. The C. Okay, well, that's the picture. And I'll put the words over here. I'm going to read this to you and then go back over this because I'm learning this too. I mean, this stuff just came through. This one was finished late yesterday. Oops, can't read it that way. Okay, now, what it says is, I'm going to read it from this side. The blue and violet Trinity beams make a final shift into full merger with the golden beam center and the golden fleece trion envelope. So the blue and violet Trinity beams that are now almost all together, they're still in that trivecca fold, go in one more notch, and they make a bivecca fold going vertically with the gates. So they're bringing the gates together they're going from here where they had the trivecca alignments, they're bringing completely together on the full singular axis, where they're linking them in biveccas, which are I have one somewhere here, probably on the other side, two circles together, which some people call it the Vesica Pisces. Okay, so they're making these bivecca links all here, where you're bringing all the stargates together on the same plane, all the signets together on the same plane. Okay, the Eros fields of the PCM and PKA universes reach critical mass expansion as the Trinity beams fully reunite within the golden fleece trion envelope to form the electrical overtones of the emerald Amareya 13th pillar holographic beam within the central vertical current. So we've talked about the 13th pillar activation and things that will happen during the Heath Arrow. So when all of these frequencies and the frequencies that had been polarized, the Chris frequencies that had polarized coming down the gates, pull all the gates together and put it all back together again, you get the 13th pillar. And it opens up all the way up through, from here, from Arveka to the Eka, all the way up to the Akasha, all the way up to the God, to the top core God world. That's the initial anchoring of the 13th pillar of the Ruche pillars, which would be the center pillar or the Amareya flame. It's considered the initiation of the pillar because it's only the electrical overtones that are anchoring during the Heath Arrow. The whole pillar with the bass tones, the rest of the bass tones will come in during the magnetic peak of the Heath-Alon. So this is when the 13th pillar anchors its electricals in the center. Now, I was standing on my head almost trying to read this. The 13th pillar activates the rod and the staff, cosmic 1111, electrical Christ code. Now, the electrical Christ code is a very interesting thingy. It's called the Mu Oran Etur, and we were given part of this to use as a healing code over Christmas, but they just said it was an old Lemurian healing code. Yeah, right. This, just like we had the Yan and the Yun and those guys, these are stands, which are very specific flash-on flow patterns of frequency. All right, these begin to activate in the grids. It's like I'm showing how they fit into the Cathar grid when if it was still there. Which they activate the divine blueprint, which is the rayon void field, and they create more activations where we get our flame body out of this, where what was shaped like two hot dogs running through each other with a couple of strange triangles floating around as our magnetic Merkaba fields ends up as a rather beautiful flame body. Now, where I see. Okay. Now, the rod and the staff, again, these represent the rod and the staff, the horizontal and vertical gate alignments. Okay? The rod and the staff. Okay, Eros field. All right. Okay, this is a neat step here. After the Mu-Oranatur code activates, the gate in the gate sequence, the 11-11-12-12 gate sequence begins to activate, which is the 11-11, which is parallel 11 over here, and our 11, which triggers 2 and 2, and the 12-12s. These are the 11-11 gates allow complete release of the trion field's connection to the Miage field, to the Rheon field. So even though our trion field now looks like this instead of a circle, it's still being held separate from the void field, Rheon field a bit. What release of the 11-11 seals and the 12-12 seals do is allow this to completely go into merger with the D12 Divine Blueprint Rheon field. So you're opening the trion field next into the Rheon field, and this is beginning the process of full full flame body activation. Okay. Depolarized, emerges with the D12. Okay, the Eros field progressively activates as the D12 Universal Eros Silver Sanctum flame body capsule within the Miage field forms, and the trion. Wait a minute, I have to read that one over. It's hard to read at this angle, by the way. The Eros fields progressively activate. All right, that's the Christos fields at the center. As the D12 Universal Eros Silver Sanctum flame body capsule within the Miage field and the trion envelope depolarize via interaction with the Rheon void field, activating the electrical overtones of the Universal Emerald Amareya flame body capsule. So the stuff that we were learning about flame body activation and learning to activate our flame bodies personally in the Dance for Freedom course, this is happening on a universal level as a result of these activations of the Hitharo. This is when the universal template goes into flame body activation. And this is why it's important to have some people on the planet that are capable of holding flame body activation so they can hold this field. It'll take on a different shape, but they can hold this frequency field that interfaces with the Ark of the Covenant gates, which are base 6, that will allow the people to be protected, people and animals and plants and minerals and things that don't have the ability to fully hold flame body activation will get a buffer field around them because of the frequencies that are in here that are being held by people who can hold the whole flame body activation. Now, let's see. The Golden Fleece host. Here's where they explain this a little more. I don't think I'm down here yet, though. All right. As the universal Eros and Amareya flame bodies expand, the electrical overtones of stargates P13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and P6, 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and P7, 13, P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, and 7, and 13, P12, P11, P10, P9, P8, and 6. Enter a biveka fold. What that's saying is all of these guys enter folds. They fold up together into the biveka pattern. Okay? Within the Eros and Amareya flame bodies, the Silver Sanctum Eros flame body Manu void window opens within the Miage field in the center. Okay? Expanding the Miage field outward to gates 11, P11, 2, and P2. Now the Miage field, it used to be the small area in here. This expands outward to where the parameters of what used to be the trion field were, between gates 2 and 11 and parallel 2 and 11. So the Miage field expands inside. The Miage field becomes this. Inside the Miage field you have the Eros flame. If you look at it this way, if the Eros flame is growing in the center of the Miage field, it's pushing the Miage field out. It's making it expand. It's expanding from the inside because this is growing in the center, so it's pushing the Miage field out. Meanwhile, this Amareya flame body, what used to be this and this, all of the seals opened. They went into biveka fold, and it allowed the separation between the trion envelope in parallel and the trion envelope here. It allowed them to merge. And when they merge, they change shape and they become the gamma ray flame body. So the trion field becomes the gamma ray flame body. They were brought into merger because the seals released to allow them to blend in with the rayon field, that it has a charge of positive, negative, and 0. So once the trion field with a positive charge interacted with that, it allows it to be depolarized. So it allowed literally the parallel trion field hot dog and the particum hot dog to merge together, and when they merge together, they form the Akasha shape, the gamma ray flame body. And this thing here is on one, because remember, we're just looking at one Cathara grid when we're looking at these, okay? That would be just one. If this is a Veka, this would be just one of those, all right? So that's there. Now, we were given a single code, the single one, to work with before. We still haven't been given the one that uses this. This isn't a code that you can use. You can play with it, but it isn't a specific code. There's certain things that have to be added to it, but we have one similar to this that's still only using one. For some reason, they're not giving us how to play with the other ones yet. I guess it's probably good to build up so you don't blow yourself up or something. But we're going to be using a version of this code to begin this process inside of our own cells, because it's happening in the Eka. So it's available to emeralds. You don't have to do it, but if you want to, the activation will help you. If you don't want to do it, you're going to get it anyway when it comes to May, because everybody is going to have this happening inside their systems. When we work with it consciously, we're helping our systems to handle it. And if we do it first from the Eka level, we're bringing it in small doses. What we're doing is actually preparing our bodies to handle it when it comes in on its own through the universal level. Because these are just small. We're doing little heat arrows inside of our bodies, getting our body ready to handle the big thing. So that's the purpose of working with the activations at this point. It's like we're almost at the finish line of a race we've been running for a long time. We couldn't see the finish line, what it was going to look like. Well, here's at least one of the finish lines. There's another one coming in August, but this is the first one that we've got to get through. And there is preparation. And the preparation are working with the codes and getting our own flame body strong enough so we can move through this with grace, but also help the planet move through it with grace. Now, yes, love?
Take a coffee break in a couple of minutes.
Okay. Oh, how far are we? Couples, 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Is it couple 2? Okay. All right. Well, he's saying that there's a wedding here, so we have to take the coffee break right on time. We can't run it late because they have a wedding, and I guess we're going to be in the way or something. I don't know. But before I go into the rest of the phases, because it's going to take me a good hour to get to the graph D number 2. All right. There's a lot to explain. I think what I'll do is we'll take it now. As he said, it's only a couple minutes away from when we're supposed to take it, so they'll be having the coffee ready out there. We'll take our coffee break, and then we'll come back, and we'll get into the rest of this. But in the meantime, it's like, okay, you got the first 2 stages. Actually, the first 3. The seed atom splits. Then we turn into hot dogs. And then we get our flame body activated. Okay, when you remember it that way, it's kind of easy reference, So we'll be back. What is it? How long is the break? Okay, it's a half hour. Go back to Hitharo. What I will probably do is put the other 2 before this up so we remember where we came from. Where did this start? Just very quickly. And a lot of this is visual, for visual memory. At least if you can remember the stages, it'll stick. Like, oh yeah, that picture goes with that. That's going to be around dawn, right? That's going to be somewhere around noonish. The next one's going to be somewhere around dusk, and the big one that we didn't do yet is going to be between 11:11 p.m. and 12:12 a.m. Yeah, May 27th, 11:11 p.m. to 12:12 a.m. the next morning. Yeah, it's yeah. In fact, it's in the papers. I don't know if you have these yet. Oh, good. They've got those in there now. Oh, good. That you've got them then. Yeah, it's in. The times are right in some of the next charts. Okay. Now, just for a really quick visual recap, not an audio one, but a visual one. Just remember, we started with the stage A, which is the splitting of the seed atom, where the Trinity beams come in and literally shatter the seed atom. This is also the point in time when the template itself, the divine blueprint itself, shatters and goes into suspension, where it's like it breaks apart in pieces so it can make room for the seed atom that's going to come in and reset, but it goes into stasis. It doesn't break apart and like a glass that gets knocked off a table and shatters all over. It would if it weren't for the fields being generated around it, because of the fields that generate. And this is this happens very quickly. Like I said, this is one day. You can picture this one for being about dawn on the 27th of May. And the next one would be this one, which is stage B. Yes. Well, it's. Oh, she's asking if it's in Greece time, and that's a good question. No, the 1111 particularly, the 1111 and 1212 parts of it, these are all grid codes, which there's a different way that they keep track of time. It's called universal co-resonant time, and it's literally by vibrations in the shield, that each vibration in the shield is a specific moment point in time. So these activations are keyed in to the shield resonance points. So wherever you are on the planet or in outer space, wherever it is 1111, where you are, is where your grids there are going to receive the activation. All right? So it's kind of neat. They've done this before without explaining much when we've done like meditations and things, put them out on the internet. Wherever you are, do it at this time. Once in a while they'll have us do it on, do the time zones calculation. But for these, they are all on the numbers themselves, the vibration points of the numbers that are specific points in the shields that represent time moments. I don't know. I haven't asked them for how to take time as we know it calculated here and translate it into vibrational time. I haven't even gone there. I just say, okay, that works for me, whatever. I won't argue. So dawn is the first one, and that would be wherever your May 27th dawn is. Okay, wherever you are, dawn of May 27th. That's when it begins in your area. All right. This would be stage B. This is the fun one. This is where your electrical Merkaba spiral collapses, and so does everybody else's. But it collapses and forms the trion envelope. So this is where you get the hot dog shape in the field. And I imagine there's going to be some interesting feelings associated with this, at least for the more sensitive, maybe for everybody. As far as, imagine if your fields start to push in on you. You're used to this big bubble of a thing that, stretches out for almost a mile, and it goes, and it squishes in. I mean, I wonder what it's going to feel like. The thing is, these shapes are not just forming around your body. They're forming as the fields around your subatomic particles and your atomic particles inside your body as well. So it's interesting. The golden fleece field, which this is the golden fleece field, host field. It's microcosmic as well as macrocosmic. It happens on the universal level, happens in the universal radial bodies, but it also happens on everybody's radial bodies all the way down to the smallest ants. And going inward, it happens around every atom, every quark, every subatomic particle. So it's going to be interesting. We have these little hot dog shapes. I wonder if it's going to change temporarily the orbit patterns of electrons around the nucleus in atoms. It might. I don't know. I haven't asked, and we haven't had time to take it that far. But it might be something that people that are scientists or interested in science it's a good time to study stuff, like under microscopes. Good time to just observe what electromagnetic fields are doing, to see if fluctuations are there. So if there's anybody that's into physics in the audience, or anybody that knows anybody, focusing on watching what happens through that period would be very interesting, because I wouldn't doubt it if there's some definitely perceivable effects. If you can't see like light flying through the sky or something, which I'm hoping for, but if you can't, you never know. We may get more than we tend to downplay stuff and not put a lot of oomph on having to have like the doubting Thomas syndrome, having to have proof all the time, that kind of stuff. So we don't really focus on that, but it would be interesting if we had phenomena, and I think there possibly could be. And I think there could be also, as well as stuff that you might see inside the body if you're using microscopes, there may also be solar flare activity of some interesting degree, or solar storms, or something strange. I think it's particularly more likely during the August period, but I think it may also go with the May period. But this may be an understatement. We're going on the side of, it might not show a lot on the outside. They haven't told us any different, but they haven't answered that question for me. I can feel them holding something back, to be honest with you. Like there's something they're not saying yet. And there's a piece of information and knowledge of understanding the process that I know they feel that we need to know before they go there with it, before they answer that question. There's certain other pieces of this we need to understand. So anyway, back to this, back to little hot dog-shaped envelopes around our body instead of our round tryon fields. That's stage 2. This, I believe, let's see if I can get a time on it. Ma is live here today with us. So somewhere between 2:45 and 6 o'clock, it would take on that full configuration. It'll vary. And he said that will vary, too, he said, between location to location. Some will go faster, some will go slower, depending on the location, but they'll all catch up with the right time frames when it gets to the 11:11 and the 12:12, which are the things, the big finale at this that we didn't cover yet. So that's the stage 2. Basically, it's what happens when the polarization seals that separate these two hot dogs release, and they shift axis and merge and come together, and they form a flame body shape, an akasha shape. And that's where we get this is the Rheon void field, is out here. This is the Amareya flame body that formed from the tryon fields, the 2 tryon fields that used to be the hot dog shapes, merging together, and those opening into the Rheon field. That activates the Amareya flame body, and simultaneously you have the activation of the Eros. This actually happens a little bit first. The Eros flame body, from depolarizing the D7 and D5 Eros frequencies that are naturally inside of the Miage field. So you get your flame body, just like we had in the Dance for Freedom course. Here's your Miage field, though. Notice, that's still hanging out there doing nothing. That's because that's the one that's connected to the magnetic bottom Merkaba that hasn't gone through transformation yet. So your Miage field is staying as it normally would be, except it's expanding outward. It's being pushed out from the inside because the flame body is expanding inside of it. The Eros flame body is expanding inside of it. Now, we have again the rod and the staff. And I didn't read this part yet, and we're going to go into this now, which is, it's best to read it. They explain it better than me, as usual. But this is the golden fleece host matrix. It's a golden fleece frequency field. And here's how they described it. They said, the golden fleeced host. It's also known as the heavenly host in ancient wording. When the Eros Amareya universal flame bodies, when these flame bodies fully activate and reach critical mass, the final electrical Merkaba seals in Stargate's parallel 14 and 14 release. So there's like a set of 3 seals here, all right, where there's a final set that releases, sending 2 spiraling columns of D14 pale yellow, D12 pale silver, and D8 gold Manet Tryon prelight into the Merkaba / flame body center point. All right, in the diagram, that's the squiggly lines. The 2 columns, the final things that release through the 14, to the layers of the 14 seals. Okay, over here and over here you have our 14 light field, our D14 light field. Here's the parallel D14 light field. Here's one of the pillars. These squiggly things, they spiral down here, and then these coming up. Remember, this is gate 1, P1, parallel gate 1. Their bottom of their Cathara grid is here, and their top is up here. Their north is here, their south is there. So you have this column of golden fleece frequency coming in, and this spiraling column of golden fleece frequency coming in into the Azure center point. When you look at this on the planetary level, it means one's coming in from our north and the other from our east, because our east is parallels south, right? So it's actually coming in from parallel south, but it will be coming through our grids as well because they're merging from our east. Okay, now, next tape. I'm going to take this real slow, this one. Oops. Yeah. What it also does is make the left hand, when this activates, by the way, you know how in Cathara healing, the left is the magnetic hand and the right is the transmitting electrical hand? When these things activate, the left becomes electrical as well. All right? This is where you get to transmit some heavy-duty demanifestation current. So yeah, the left is east, and the right west. All right, now what happens next? The gold and silver one light columns intersect at the Azari center. They intersect here, creating a clockwise rotating spherical golden fleece tryon field. So they create a clockwise rotating. See this arrow here with the squiggly line? That's showing the clockwise rotating golden fleece field. These intersected here, and they started to spin together. So they started to spin as one, and they began to form this field, this golden fleece field in here. Now, okay, wait a minute. Where am I? Okay, right. Okay, don't Okay, the golden fleece spherical field starts to spiral outward through the Eros flame body, Miage field, and Amareya flame body. So it starts to spiral outward through all of those bodies to form. Wait a minute. I have a hard time refining myself once I move this. Okay, to form a spherical standing wave field around the Amareya flame body. Now this is the buffer field. This is the golden fleece buffer field. All right, so what it does, they come together here. They start spiraling out to one current. They go through the Eros flame field, the Miage field, the Amareya flame field, and literally out around the Amareya flame body, forming this buffer field of the gold and silver one frequency, or the golden fleece frequency. Okay, let's see. The golden fleece wave field releases the axis phase lock on the Amareya flame body and its contents. So the axis phase lock is what's keeping it at the Vecca axis, all right? This north being here, right, south being here. That's showing you the Particum system, right? That would be here. What the golden fleece does, frequency does, when it comes through through the whole Amareya flame body, is it releases this axis lock so it can swing into the Eka axis alignment. Because the Eka axis alignment, the Eka gates run this way. On the diagonal, the Akasha gates run this way. And this horizontal and vertical is the Vecca axis. So when that activates in the field, it releases the phase lock, which makes the flame body able to shift axis, which means it's able to go into the next phase, which has to do with shifting into a double bivecca Merkaba, so it can link with the parallel with the primal light fields of the Eka universe. Now, okay, I would say it releases the phase lock on the Amareya flame body and its contents. That means us inside of ours, right? And our planet, and our sun, and our galaxy, and our universe. This is what's wild to me. This is like, think about that again. Wow, the whole universe is doing this. This is big. Freeing the universal Amareya flame body and the atomic matter structure within it from universal Vecca axis phase lock in preparation for axis shift to the Eka universe axis. In the Hithara cycle, the matter forms with universal flame body alignment. This is wild. I'm going to take this from the beginning and do this one slow. This is where I started to go, we do what? Right? Our universe does what? In the Hithara cycle, the matter forms with universal flame body alignment. That means the ones that have anchored all of this, not the Metatronic ones. They replicate a copy of their structure within the golden fleece field, preparing to enter a temporary state of bilocation until final completion of the Hitharo, Hithalan, Rushate, and Akashashai renewal cycle. The universe is going to bilocate? That was my first idea. Geez, I thought it was going to be challenging enough for us to learn how to do a body. The universe is going to do it for us. So literally, I'll finish reading this, and then I'll try to say it in a little bit easier terms. Let's see. All right. The golden fleece, also known as the heavenly host, activates once the cosmic 1111 electrical Christ code and universal flame body have activated, and remain stable until Ekashai ends. So once this golden fleece field activates, it's staying with us till 2012, all through all of the other cycles, which is nice. Once activated, the golden fleeced host field begins a rapid axis shift of the universal flame body into Eka-axis alignment to receive the final stage of the Hitharo cycle, the cosmic 1212 activation. The short period of time it takes for the golden fleece to shift the universal flame body axis to Eka alignment is called the Great Silence. In Earth time, this period begins at the 11:11 p.m. vibration point in Earth shields, lasts for 1 hour until 12:11 a.m., at which point the 1212 final Hitharo stage begins. This happens in an hour. Once this thing activates, it shifts the axis from this axis over into the Eka axis within the space of an hour. That's fast. That's fast flame body. This is the part that I found fascinating. It does what? The universe bilocates? Now, the golden fleece field is an electron field, all right? It's made of trion units, and trion units are D11 electrons. They're also mixed with other Mane units that go up into the higher light fields. So it is basically a very high-frequency electron field. That electron field takes an imprint, almost like if you put a spot of ink on paper and put your hand on it. Your hand will have a blob of ink on it, right? The paper will still have its ink, but you'll have one on your hand too. Well, it's kind of like that. The electrons take on the form. They come together following the pattern of what's already here, and they take that form into a different space. They make a blueprint out of, you could call it an etheric if you wanted to, but it's actually a higher frequency. It's actually a pre-matter, antimatter template. Yeah. But it still moves with us. After it goes, you'll see it's going to go. But where it goes, it still moves with us. We're all going to have a piece of ourselves that go there into this space. And we'll talk about that space in a little while. I found that absolutely fascinating. I said, oh, neat. And how do you get the rest of you there? Right? Which we get to in the Hethalon. But anyway, so this is where we end up with the flame body activation. This is stage C, and that's where you have flame body activation. The golden fleece activates, and that's where the Great Silence period takes place. And remember, the Great Silence is the period of time that, let's see, how did they word it? The short period of time it takes for the golden fleece to shift the universal flame body axis alignment to the Eka alignment. So it's about an hour, that Great Silence. Okay, next phase.
So this is diagram C.
This,
So that hour happened one phase.
yeah. Yeah. So the Great Silence hour goes with this diagram, stage C. And this, now the 11:11, this starts with the 11:11 p.m., all right, where these activate, the 11:11 codes activate in the grids. So this starts at 11:11 p.m., and it finishes, this plus the next part of it, finishes by 12:12 a.m. Yes. Yes, well, lots of us are going to be sitting on an island. Hopefully it won't be raining or anything. And we're going to leave some kind of linking thing that people, anywhere can link in with whatever it is we're guided, to do at that time. The next one. Oh, you're back. I'm going to read it first, and then we'll go back over to the diagrams. Let's see. First, this is what the diagrams look like. Now, remember, we saw something that looked similar to that a while back when we were just going through basic Merkaba structure. I'll read it first, then I'll capsulize it with the pictures and point. Okay. Universal double biveka Merkaba activation and ectoplasmic template. That imprint that I mentioned, that gets taken in the golden fleece field. The golden fleece field is a substance that's called ectoplasm. And that's a word that has to do with the fact that there are not just D11 trions in this field, not just the higher light field trions, but there's also D8 frequency activating in here. D8 is, they are D8 electrons, which are called ectrons. We covered that in, I think, Dance for Love, I think, when we were naming the currents and showing the different, particle names of each level, of each density level. So that imprint of the matter base that's here and all the fields that go with it that's taken is an ectoplasmic template. Now, this is the Hitharo peak. This part's called the cosmic 1212. We had the cosmic 1111 right before. It's called the crystal code activation, stage 1. All right, this is stage D, number 1, actually, stage D. It's the regenesis of the Yaneha cluster. Now, the Yaneha cluster is the outer 7 cells of the 15-cell Christos seed atom. So the outer 7 cells get regenerated during the Hitharo, and the inner 8 cells get regenerated during the Hithalan in August. All right, so it takes, it's like a progressive building thing. It doesn't all go whap at once and there you got your seed atom back. It's a little slower. Now, what happens in this phase is, first, as the great silence, the universal flame body shift to the Eka axis begins, which is what started over the other thing, at the 11:11 p.m. time coordinate, the 2 base tone magnetic Veka primal spirals, which are these are the base tone ones in the primal light fields are going to shift, while our electrical Merkabas are going to shift. So while we're having the electrical top spiral in the particle universe shift, the electrical spiral shift, the primal light fields are having the opposite. They're having the magnetic Merkaba shift. Okay, so the 2 base tone magnetic Veka primal spirals and 2 overtone electrical Veka density spirals, that's us, progressively shift 45 degrees to Eka axis, and they merge, forming one double biveka Merkaba vehicle. Now remember this thing, this shape, this was the double biveka Merkaba vehicle. I'm going to slide this back and forth so I can go back and forth between the words in the drawing. So what's happening here is you have this is our particle universe, and these are the light fields, and that's the parallel universe. These are the density spirals, okay, because they go with the 12 matter density levels, or the 12 dimensional levels of matter density. These are the light fields. You have to form the double biveka, a biveka is 2 spirals. A double biveka, you need 4, okay? So you have our electrical top half. You have the electrical bottom half of the parallel, they shift, and you have the magnetic top half of the parallel light field and the magnetic bottom half of our light field. They all do a 45-degree shift. And these guys shift 45 degrees too. And they cojoin to become this, the first double biveka Merkaba field. Now, where that thing goes is into the primal light fields, or the primal field of the Eka universe. It's shifted axis 45 degrees, and it is now running on the Eka axis as opposed to the Veka axis. Put this over more. Okay. So it forms the one double biveka Merkaba vehicle that contains the electrical golden fleece replica universal flame body inside. So inside of that double biveka Merkaba, that's where your flame body went. That electrical flame body that was formed in that imprint of the matter base down here, the ectoplasmic imprint, is now stationed there, which is in the primal light fields of the Eka. And the whole universe is going to do this. That's what I find remarkable. The universal flame body replicate within the double biveka Merkaba vehicle exists as an ectoplasmic template. D8 trion units equal ectrons equal D8 electrons for the recreation of the original Veka universe. It's a template that's taken, so when the recreation goes down, you can retain your form constant. So it doesn't annihilate everything that was to start from scratch over again. It allows for the imprint that was taken to be a part of the recreation or the new creation, right? As if it were part of the divine intention that was intended to be there. So, and then of course we get to merge with that during the Hithalan. I don't have the technicals on that one yet. So anyway, we first go into the double biveka. Our flame body that was from the other diagram is now surrounded by that kind of field. The flame body field activates, shifts the 45 degrees into the Eka axis and becomes a double biveka Merkaba field. Now, next stage is the Akasha electrical triveka Merkaba activation, the golden fleece buffer field, and the Hiesta axis stasis period. All right? What happens here is the double biveka Merkaba vehicle within the ecoprimal light sound fields, that's that one way up there, the arrows point to, reaches critical mass spin speed. This sparks activation of the top electrical Akasha triveka Merkaba spiral within the ecoprimal light fields. So when this thing reaches its top spin speed, it triggers the top of the Akasha Merkaba, the thing that looks like an umbrella, their electrical spiral. It triggers activation of that. Right. The electrical Akasha triveka Merkaba spiral envelops the Eka and Veka universe. So it literally forms another, we lost our small electrical Merkaba field. That collapsed to do all the other stuff. Now the big Eka electrical spiral comes down around our universal Veka. Okay. Okay, and as this comes down, it spirals a progressively amplifying trion field golden fleece buffer capsule around the Eka and Veka systems, which holds the remaining 4 single biveka Merkaba spirals. Now the remaining 4 were the ones that didn't shift, right? That go with the magnetics here, the magnetic bottom spirals here, and the electrical top ones in the primal light fields. They're still here. They didn't shift. This golden fleece buffer field forms all the way around the whole Veka. That means us and our parallel, all around it. It holds those other Merkabas with their axis steady in a state of stasis, or where their axis isn't moving yet. That keeps it from collapsing during the period of time before the magnetic activation happens, before the Hithalan. All right, now. Okay, now, this state of temporary axis stasis, where the golden fleece, the big golden fleece capsule that forms around the whole universal Veka, holds our Merkaba axes, the ones that didn't shift, holds them in their position. That is called the Hiesta period. And this will remain until the Hithalan magnetic peak is reached. So at this stage of Hitharo, stage D1, which this one is, let's see, we didn't hit 12:12 yet. This is like, I believe, before we get to the 12:12, somewhere between 11:11 p.m. and 12:12 a.m. This is what's happening. Wait. Just gonna go somewhere like that. Yeah, the Hiesta it forms here, but it literally stays all through until August, until the period of time when we go through the other end of this, where the bottom Merkaba does the same type of thing. Now, the next stage, in stage D1, is the 12:12 Christ code activation, and they have not given us the full Christ code yet. That'll be given probably for the period of time when we can use it, which is for May. All right. The Christ code, they've given us parts of the Christ code, but not the whole one. The 12:12 Christ code activation, 13th pillar overtone anchoring, and the Yane Ha outer 7-cell Christos seed atom regenesis. Once the electrical spiral of the Akasha triveka Merkaba field, this big spiral, and the golden fleece buffer capsule activate, this part, the cosmic 12:12 electrical Christ code stands, which means it's another symbol pattern to us, but another flow pattern in the shields, activates within the Akasha, Eka, and Veka templates, fully anchoring the electrical overtones of the 13th pillar, Emerald Amareya flame, within the Azure center points of the Akasha, Eka, and Veka shields. Okay, in here. Opening the 13th pillar passage for regenesis of the Christos seed atom. So it's the opening of this passage that allows the frequencies to come through to regenerate the 7 outer cells of the Christos seed atom. Okay, once the 13th pillar overtones, anchors in the Vecca shields, the Yane Ha stands, which is the inner one. When you look at, the outer one. When you look at, I don't have it here on it. This is the Yane Ha. You see the symbol codes? These are called encryption codes that are around it. They're shield programming, more mathematics on it. This was part of the larger one, the larger 15 seed atom that we showed you, where you saw the other circles in here. I whited out those circles and left just the outer ones. But what's interesting is the outer ones look like they're the inner ones at first. It's later during the Heath-Alan that the others, the center ones, the 8 in the middle, come in. And when they come in, they spread these out to their full rotation. So what was inside becomes outside. That's the internal creation concept. It's created from the inside out, not from the outside in. So anyway, we get the Chris code stands, activates within the Eka, fully anchors the 13th pillar, Amaria flame. It opens the pillar passage for regenesis of the Christos seed atom. When the pillar anchors in the Vecca shields, the Yane Ha stands, base electrical Christos seed atom, activates within the shields. So that's when this activates in the shields, initiating regenesis of the Yane Ha 7 outer cell cluster of the Christos seed atom. The cosmic 1212, Akasha Trivecca Merkaba, and Golden Fleece buffer capsule activations and regenesis of the Yane Sa cluster occur at the 12:12 a.m. time coordinate. So all that goes down at 12:12. All right. I wasn't sure when we were up there, but that and this go down at 12:12. Once the shift is made, the shift starts 11:11. Once the shift is made and you're in double by Vecca, that's at 12:12, and all of that happens at 12:12. Okay. Yeah, that's just following the hour of great silence that began at 11:11 p.m. when the shift started to happen. Now, the final stage. And this one was neat. It finally answered a question that I've been trying to figure out for a while. And it was about 2 months ago, or maybe a month ago. I can't even remember anymore time-wise. But there was a really strange, I woke up, I had been very active in the astral, and I could feel it. I woke up, and I felt distinctly 3 axes running through my body and my Merkaba. Felt one this way, one this way, and one this way. And I've never quite felt that before. I said, what is that? It's a this. Just found out. This is interesting. Now I'm going to read this. I'll show you the picture here. In fact, I'll give you the words that go with the picture, and then we'll go back to reading it so you'll be able to visualize it, because it's easy enough to remember what it looks like. This axis here and this axis here, and these numbers are as if they were on a Cathara grid, right? So you have the 6, 7, and the 2, 11. They form what's called the seal of the Ark of the Covenant. They're also, it's a frequency that opens up within the Cathara grids. Everywhere you see a Cathara grid, that opens up. That's called the seal of the Ark of the Covenant. This thing is called the heliotasis. I said, oh, what? Sounds like a disease. It's like bad breath or something, I said, no, it's good breath. This thing opens during this process. And this thing is very interesting. That was the 3rd axis that I was feeling. And I'll read it, because it's more interesting to do it that way. They describe it better than me. But I was very thrilled to find out, oh, that's what that is. Oh, that's all. It's just a heliotasis. Now, let me find myself here. Okay. Now, after we go through the stuff that just went down with the seed atom being reset in stage D1, now, so we hit 12:12. This is 12:12 and thereafter. All right. Activating the seal of the Ark of the Covenant. Once regenesis of the Yaneha cluster outer 7-cell Christos seed atom occurs at the 12:12 a.m. time coordinate, a current of Manet frequencies from the Golden Fleece buffer capsule, remember that's the buffer capsule that formed around inside of the Akasha Merkaba, but around the whole Vecca system, So, okay. So frequencies, a current of Manet from the golden fleece buffer capsule spirals into the Yane-Sa cluster, which is the center of the seed atom that was set, right, at the Azare. From the Yane-Ha cluster, that should be an H. That's my typo. That's a Yane-Ha. From the Yane-Ha cluster, the golden fleece Manet current sends out two spiraling columns of golden silver 1, golden fleece trion prelite, collectively called the seal of the Ark of the Covenant. So you have these two spiraling, one vertical, one horizontal, spiraling columns of golden silver 1 frequency, and together they're called the seal of the Ark of the Covenant. Okay. So they're sent into the Akasha, the Eka, and the Veka universe Kathara templates. One arc seal column extends out from the Yaneha horizontally into signets 6 and 7. And interesting, we're going to be sitting on Q site 7 in Paxos. Yeah. I still haven't figured out why I know that's really important. It's like a good spot to sit for this. I'm not sure why, but I know it has to do with this. I mean, you have the Azare in the center, right, where all this action's happening, and you have things coming in from the east. There's 7. So we're on Q site 7, so I just thought I'd put that there for just to mention it. So anyway, one extends out horizontally to 6 and 7, and the other column extends vertically into signets 11 and 2. In terms of our planetary Templar, that would be both stargates and Q sites, by the way. These Q sites will be activating there. The Eka grids, the Eka stargate grids that interface here, they will be activating too. So signets 11 and 2 would be 11 stargate in England, and also Q site 11 here in England. I mean, here in Ireland, over at Eyes Island. That's where we're going to be doing projected grid work. 2 in our two Stargate in our planetary Templar is the Gruel point in Sarasota, Florida. So you have these areas activating, and they're doing it on a universal level, but it also comes down to the planetary level. It also comes down into what areas in your body are activating, if you know where your Cathara grid points are in your body, right? The two arc seal columns serve to link together the Veka density templates and the Veka primal field templates. That means it links together. You know the magnetics that are still hanging out down here because we didn't do anything with our bottom magnetic Merkaba spiral? It helps that Merkaba spiral, the magnetics on the bottom, link to the electricals of the remaining that are remaining in the primal light fields. All right, so the parts that didn't shift are now being linked together through the seal of the Ark of the Covenant configuration and frequency, those two pillars. Okay. What that does is it connects our magnetic Merkabas and ourselves down here, and our primal light fields, connects them directly with the golden fleece buffer capsule, and to the Eka, and the Akasha templates, to the universal flame body and its ectoplasmic replica within the Eka primal light sound field. So that cross there, that seal of the Ark of the Covenant configuration, those two pillars of frequency that are going to open up, and they're going to be like golden pillars, gold and silver actually. They are going to be your connection, first of all, to the full host field, that universal host field buffer capsule, and they're your connection to the imprint of you that went up into double Biveka Merkaba. So this is the link. If you don't anchor your seed atom and everything, first of all, you won't get an imprint up there anyway, so you're not going to miss anything. But this is where you begin to open your connection to that template part that went into the, you could call it a state of temporary hypersuspension, interdimensional hypersuspension in the frequency fields up in the primal light fields of the Eka. So this configuration links the two templates together, what's remaining of your magnetics and your primal light electricals, links them together, holds them into the golden fleece field, and allows them to link into the Eka so they can connect with that ectoplasmic imprint. Because there's going to come a time, and it's going to be in Heath-Alon, where the bottom part of us, the magnetic Merkaba spiral, goes through this too, and then the parts join up. That ought to be interesting. I'm wondering where we're going to end up when that happens. So, okay, I got to slide it back over again. Find the words again. Hello. Where are we going? Sorry to get it straight on here, and it's not straight on the board. There we go. Okay. Okay. The arc seal columns, that two gold columns of a cross, release the remaining Vecca axis phase lock on the Vecca density magnetic by Vecca Merkaba spirals. So this releases the phase lock on our magnetic spirals. And on the electrical Vecca primal spirals, the ones that are still up in the primal light fields, it releases their axis phase lock. And on the meage field, the peripheral field, that meage field, and the inherent atomic virtual fields. This is where the phase lock into our space-time zone, in our atomic phase lock, is released at this point, at this stage in the game, which gives us more options of, let's say, vacation. So the electrical Vecca primal spirals release their phase lock. The by Vecca magnetics release the density by Vecca Merkaba, magnetic Merkabas release their phase lock, and the atomic structure, literally the quarks and atoms and protons, neutrons, all those things, release their phase lock, preparing the universal Vecca and its contents for magnetic shift to Eka axis during the coming Hethalon magnetic peak. So this is where we get the preparation for the whole shift to occur in the next phase. The next thing that happens after this is activating the shield of the Ark of the Covenant. Now we have the shield. That was the seal. The cross shape is the seal. Once activated, the two arc seal columns spin from the center point link. So they spin. This thing starts to spin, right? They spin from the center point link in the Yaneha cluster at the Azure, generating a stepped down golden fleece buffer field. Step down means it's made of the same frequencies, but moving with less subfrequency bands in them. It steps it down so it's not as strong of a current. So it makes a stepped down golden fleece buffer field that is called the shield of the Ark of the Covenant. So you have the big universal buffer field and the big outer buffer field of really strong golden fleece frequency. Then because the arc seal pillars start to spin on their axis, they spiral in a step down version of that, and they bring it directly into the shield, your personal shield or the universal shield. So you're not just having a buffer field around the outside. This is where you're getting the buffer field around everything, even on the inside. All right. And it spirals it throughout the entirety of the Akasha, Eka, and Vecca templates. The shield of the Ark generates a golden fleece frequency platform within the universal base magnetic density shields and base electrical primal shields, which progressively draws the remaining magnetic Vecca density and electrical primal Merkaba spirals together in preparation for Hethalon as the He-Esta axis stasis period progresses following completion of Hetharo. So what that says is, what does that say? It is along the shield of the Ark. It generates the golden fleece frequency platform. So takes the golden fleece frequency from the outside and brings some of it on the inside through the entire shield. All right, through the entire. Progressively draw the remaining electrical primal Merkaba spirals and the remaining magnetic Merkaba spirals from the densities, draws them together progressively during this period that's called hystasis. Their axis isn't shifting yet. Those new Merkaba vehicles that are being born, they're holding in stasis, but they're drawing together on vertical and horizontal. They're not shifting their axis yet, but they're drawing together because of this interior golden fleece frequency platform that's created by the spinning of the arc seals, the seal of the arc, which are the pillars. So that field, that frequency platform, is called the shield of the arc. So you have the seal of the arc and the shield of the arc. Now what happens next is activating the Ark of the Covenant passage and the heliotasis line. This was one of the last ones I was working on before I had to come down. I was going, what is a helio what? Some of these words, they just make me giggle. I don't know where they get them. We need a whole dictionary at this point. Yeah, the Azurite dictionary. Okay, now, activation of the seal and shield of the Ark sparks rapid activation of the Ark of the Covenant passage, which you'll see where that is in the Cathara grids in a little bit when we get into the Ark graphs. Okay, so activation of the seal and shield of the Ark sparks rapid activation of the Ark of the Covenant passage within the universal Veka and in the Cathara templates of all matter forms whose shields are capable of anchoring and the shield of the Ark. So anything that has activated this far, all right, will receive rapid activation of the Ark of the Covenant passage, the interior Ark of the Covenant passage. But the planet's also going to have its Ark of the Covenant passages open, which to us they would be exterior. Even though they're interior to the planet, they're outside of our body, just like we have interior ones inside our body. I wonder if our bacteria look at them as the outside stargates. Never thought of that before. It's a good question, isn't it? Think about it. Are we the stargates for like the bacteria and the little things that run around in our bodies? Like our Cathara centers? I don't know. So, now, when we've got the Ark of the Covenant passage gates, which is another gate interface set. It's another Cathara grid that's tilted at a different axis that interfaces. It's bad enough we have one going vertical and another going horizontal with all their little gates lining up. We have another one that goes diagonal, and that's the Ark of the Covenant one. You'll see it in a little bit. Okay, let's see. Now, once the Ark of the Covenant passage opens, activation of the Universal Ark of the Covenant passage opens the diagonal base 6 half-step Ark passage signet system, Stargate system, which activates the heliotasis line within the Veka and Eka templates. The heliotasis line is the central diagonal current. Now, you know how we study in Cathara, we have the central vertical current? We have a hidden central diagonal current that we didn't know about. Just like we have the Hara line that runs the verticals, we have the heliotasis line that runs diagonal. It runs on the diagonal Eka axis. It interfaces with the horizontal and vertical Veka axes at the Christos seed atom center point. The activated heliotasis line is an open conduit of energy flow between the Veka system and its electrical universal flame body ectoplasmic replica. So this is where you get an open line to that other imprint of yourself. Our universe opens, has a tube, let's say, that first connects the imprint that was taken before, its ectoplasmic imprint, with this universe here. And in the Hithalan, that tube is going to pull the two together. So the imprint, which is a perfected imprint. Okay, it's what was able to anchor the divine blueprint. So it's like your perfect universe is floating around someplace for a while up in the Eka light fields in a double Viveka Merkaba. So this, and then I'll show you what this looks like here. This is this one, this tube, right here, and it runs between Cathara Center 9 and 4. This also spirals too, so it can move through the other gates as well. Like once your Cathara grid comes back from wherever it went when it folded up. I was watching, I was thinking, okay, great, my Cathara grid's going to fold up. What happens to your body when your Cathara grid folds up? But in answer to that question, it's actually a replicate folds, while the base field of the D12 Rion field, the divine blueprint field, always holds the imprint of the template. So you can still keep a body while all this goes on. Right? Now, so this is the thing that's hard to pronounce, heliotasis line, which is like a extra special Hara line, the diagonal vertical current, new part of the anatomy coming awake. This gets fun. We can do with this thing once it's awake. The heliotasis line is the central diagonal. Okay, Once the heliotasis line is opened within the Vecca, it opens within the Cathara templates of all Vecca matter forms connected via arc, seal, and shield to the golden fleece buffer field. Through the Hiesta axis stasis period, the activated heliotasis line progressively sends golden fleece frequency infusions into the remaining Vecca base electrical, primal, and base magnetic density Merkaba spirals. So through that tube, we start getting progressive frequency, golden fleece frequency infusions all through the period of once Hetharon is over and before Hethalon starts, it progressively infuses us with more of these, more of the golden fleece frequencies. Okay? And what this does, it progressively accelerates the spin rates of the magnetic density and electrical primal Merkaba spirals. So this is where we start to go into the magnetic acceleration that leads to the magnetic peak spin rate. It's because that tube opens and feeds more frequency in, so the bottom spiral starts spinning faster and faster and faster. Okay? Now, so this is happening during Hiesta, okay, where that's running frequency down into us, the golden fleece frequency into us, making our bottom Merkaba spin faster, our magnetic Merkaba spin faster. And this is preparing us for the Hethalon magnetic peak axis shift, like the final part of the axis shift. Now, this is interesting. This basically is the end of the Hetharo, but they added this little bit, the bilocation and the golden dawn. And it has nothing to do with Aleister Crowley's twisted golden dawn teachings either. That was very draconian. Actually, I believe it was Wiesidrak. But anyway, the heliotasis line can be viewed as an umbilical cord to the ectoplasmic replica. So it's like an umbilical cord that connects you during the Hiesta period where you're still separated from that imprint. It connects you to that replica. Once activated, the heliotasis line allows Vecca life forms to create a second double bivecca Merkaba vehicle golden fleece replica. They can make another replica through which transmigration of consciousness between the Vecca and Eka replica systems in a state of bilocation can be achieved during and after the Hiesta stasis period. What this means is, once all this stuff is opened up, that tube actually allows you to pull in enough of the golden fleece frequency to project your body in bilocation to merge with the other part of you that's already in bilocation, so you can begin to have the experience of taking your consciousness from here and going there, which is the first step, is getting your consciousness there in like a lighter matter body. This would be another ectoplasmic body imprint, where it's like a form of much better than astral projection, okay? But you can learn to move your consciousness from here to there in this lighter density body imprint of yourself by taking part of your consciousness here and putting it into another double bivecca Merkaba configuration and learning to travel with it that way. So this is fun. The universe can do this, but things that live in the universe, like us, can learn how to do this too. And I do know that this is one of the means that they're going to start giving major training, where there are people that work with this. We're going to have the ability to, it will not be so difficult as it is and it has been, to bring people from here into the ecosystem. First, they would bring us that way. And sometimes, they trained me like this very early on, and I have no idea how they managed to get me there in those states. I mean, I've been taken physically, but they also trained me progressively in this consciousness shift. And it's wild. It's more real than this feels, because it's more alive, because you're more vibrant, you have more of your consciousness and your awareness there. So it feels like when you come back, you feel like you just fell asleep again and went into a dream. And you remember, but your body remembers the sensations and the feelings. It's a real state. It's a state that's actually more real than this one is.